It's deadline day, everybody, and hello and welcome to the Media Man. It's good to be here, and I want to just start by saying today is already, and by the way, we're not even at 11 p.m. yet. So who knows? If you guys really, really want to, we may very well go up to 11 p.m. Okay. There's a possibility tonight, if we do well this evening and we get lots of guests on, we could go until the very end of the deadline. But at the moment, it's looking like Nottingham Forest could sign 4 and maybe another one coming soon as well. I'm not going to reveal any more because I don't know much more about the situation. But there could be potentially 4 to 5 players coming in today. Yes, 4 to 5 players. This is a pretty big day for Nottingham Forest. Now, all I'm going to say is it's going to be Michy Batshuayi, it's going to be Josh Bowler, it's going to be Loic Bade, and it is Willy Bolly because Willy Bolly has signed. So Willy Bolly, just to run you through the transfer fees and the purchase fees and whatever's going on, because of course I'm sure that many of you will know that there's loans and there's permanent buys in this. Now, with Loic Bade, there's a 12-month loan option, and there's a 12-month loan with a 20. Getting my bearings wrong. Right, let me get this right. 12-month loan, £12 million buy option at the end of the loan. That's Loic Bade. Willy Bolly, he signs for £2.5 million, potentially rising to £4.65 million, depending on bonuses, Forest surviving, etc. Then the next two, Michy Batshuayi, it's unclear how much he's going to sign for, if it's going to be loan or if it's permanent. We're waiting for more confirmation from the man himself, Fabrizio Romano, who broke the story. Then there's Josh Bowler, who's going to sign for around £4 million. And then, it's going to rise after that as well. So there's a lot going on today, and it's been a busy day, and I've made sure that I can try and cover as much of it as I can. But it seems as though it's going down to the absolute wire. It's going down to the absolute wire. So Josh Bowler's going to sign for £4 million, excluding add-ons. So this is going to happen. But all I will say is I don't think that Batshuayi will actually be the final piece of the puzzle, if you like. I think there may be 1 or 2 more after him. And yes, I'm not joking. I'm being serious. Little rumours being thrown around that I'm hearing. That, there could be some more players coming in after this. So just beware, everybody. 56 of you currently in the chat. Please, if you can, drop a subscribe and make sure you keep in contact with me. You can do so via no other than the invite link that I'm putting up in the stream in just a moment's time. So if you just give me a moment, I'm going to quickly put the invite link in the chat. But as I say, are you going to sign for Door on Tour? Yes, I am. Door on Tour, let's make it happen. I'm coming on a free transfer. Let's make it happen, everybody. Door on Tour, the Media Man is making a transfer. There we go. It's happening, everybody. It's probably my favourite day of the year. It is transfer deadline day, and you are with me, Jamie Martin, for this amazing day. I love transfer deadline day so much, if any of you didn't know. So, yeah. Happy deadline day, everybody. Now, first of all, where do we start? Anybody ask questions. Who do you want to hear about first? What do you want to know? It's deadline day. Now, so just having a look at some of the comments. It's good to see Chris, Mark, Dennis. I've not seen you for a while, mate. I hope you're well. Tim, Joe, Chris, Joe, and Kev, Daryl, everybody that's joining, Sean, OJW, Kel, Robert, good to have you all in. Russell as well. Patrick, of course. Dor, Steve, Ras, Eve, Gamer 316, Paul, and hey, Glyn. No other than one of your students did this haircut. So this is it. This is it. Now, good evening, everybody joining in. It's good to be here. It's transfer deadline day, and yes, you're with me. By no means a transfer expert, but you only have to look at Twitter to be able to see what's going on with Nottingham Forest now. I will just say this. Nottingham Forest, at the moment, they have 4 players set to be signed today. Willy Bolly is included in that. I suppose he's already signed. Bowler's coming on a medical alongside everybody else. So this is it. I'm dead excited. I'm really excited. And Dor, stop making fun of my haircut. You need to be nice to me, because you need to be nice to me, Dor. Don't be horrible. Come on. I'm trying my best. I've messed it up a bit because I've been so excited today. I've been just keeping on my phone, keeping on Twitter, keeping to make sure I can try and get as much information and see as much stuff as I can regarding Forest transfer news, and keep you updated whenever I can as well. So Bowler's going to Greece. From what I can assume, it's nothing dodgy, as I know some people are suggesting already. From what I know at the moment, the reasoning is just to get him used to high level football. Obviously, it's still not up to Premier League standards. You could argue the Greek Super League, but even then, he's going to be playing potentially, he's going to be playing good Greek football essentially. So yeah, that's why he's going to Greece. Basically, Bowler's going to come, and he's going to be part of the Forest team next season, or he's going to have some involvement for sure. But at the moment, he's going to be loaned out to Olympiacos for the foreseeable. So that's what's going on with him. Serge Aurier, nothing new on him, unfortunately. I don't know what the situation is. As I say, it's going to go up to the absolute wire. This transfer window is, pardon me, but anything could happen, as I say. So work being done all round, but yeah, I don't even know where you even start with this. I mean, it's one of those days where you just go, Jesus Christ, well, what on earth do we actually do? But looking like the Barbe deal, the Bade deal, there's nothing I've heard to suggest that it is off. So hold your horses, give it time. There's I'm sure they're probably looking at players all around the world already. Will you be having Gary Birtles on your show again? Yes, and in fact, there'll be something better in the future. But let's carry on. What position is this unnamed player? I don't know if I don't know if I'll get in trouble for. No, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say who it is. But I can't say it. I'm going to draw a picture of Gary Birtles. Send it over, Eve, and I'll make sure to send it to him as well. I'll be meeting him very soon. So, Dawson, stop it. You all know it's Dawson now anyway that I'm going to be interviewing soon. So, I've been talking all day about this transfer window. It's incredible. Oreo is a free, so doesn't have to. Very true. Mr. Tim Shipman, very true. If he's a free and he's out of contract, then, as you say, doesn't have to be today. So you can be a bit more patient with Aurier, but I've not heard any of the latest on that. Olympiacos, yeah, they're a good team. They're a good team regardless of what happened with the Champions League stuff. He can play at a good level, and get some game time, which at the age of 23, you need. He can't afford to stop the momentum. So, yeah, it could be a good move for him. But guys, let me know how you feel about Josh Bowler going to Olympiacos on loan as soon as he signs this evening. But Bade deal stalled, but this is it. It's transfer deadline day. Everything. So according to RMC Sport at the moment, it's looking like the transfer could risk falling apart now for Bade due to Rennes not being able to find a replacement in time. That being said, as Owen very politely and correctly points out, the reason being for this is because they haven't found a replacement. So stick by us. We've got another 3 hours to solve this problem. And obviously it's more the case of Rennes solving the problem really because they have to find a replacement. So if they can't find anybody in the next few hours that's available, the deal will fall through. So everything's going crazy, everybody. But don't worry, 3 hours. A lot can change in 3 hours. Everything is going fast paced. So surely got to be several outgoings. I assume so. I would have thought that Lyle Taylor will be one of them. I know that there's rumours of Steve Cook leaving as well, but at the moment I would say hold off on those rumours. I've not heard anything of Steve Cook leaving. Obviously, Cafu and Colback are two players that potentially could be leaving. Obviously, Colback got some minutes yesterday, and maybe that's the last time you see him in a Forest shirt. I do doubt it. There's something about it I just doubt, but there's going to be a lot of people left out of that 25-man squad. So a lot of people will have to leave, and obviously we've got the coming hours to do so. I hope Serge Aurier doesn't sign. He comes with too many issues. I mean, there's reports of him having attitude problems, but I suppose you're never going to know until he's at the club. But by that point, it's already too late, isn't it? So, give the guy a chance, and we don't even know if he's going to sign 100% yet. Have we got a target man yet? Not necessarily, no. But Forest are very close to signing the deal for Michy Batshuayi. So it's a bit of an unexpected one, to say the least. But it's certainly a deal that will make an impact. Anything with Brereton on loan? Anything with Brereton rumour? Nothing I've heard there on that. Will this unnamed player be a first-team starter or squad? I would say probably squad, to be honest. I mean, it depends because obviously of how well the team's playing. I would put them in the squad. They do. They need to keep outbidding themselves. Whoever gets to 100 million, I'll be very happy with. So, come on, get Ben Brereton to 20 million. Let's do it. Surridge is going to Stoke on loan because I saw. I mean, is that confirmed? I show speed because all I'm going to say is I heavily doubt that Surridge will leave. I mean, if he does, then that's what it is. But I will just say I doubt that he'll be going in this window. So, or if any, to be honest, he's a very clinical striker, and if anything does happen and there's a bit of a bad period in terms of injuries up front, he's there, and I think he's really, really, really useful for the club. Is Sam Surridge, and I said this a while ago. I said that people always overlook him and don't give him enough talk. Don't talk about him enough, and everybody was coming at me saying that's not true. That's who has never spoken about Surridge enough, and it's like, well, hold on a minute, but everybody forgets him when we talk about strikers until the last couple of days when there's rumours of him leaving. So I just think as a club, we sometimes take players for granted that have served us really, really well. So don't take him for granted, but I do doubt he'll leave, to be honest with you. I doubt he'll leave. Now, would love for us to get Lacroix. Yeah, 100%. I think it looks like he's going to Southampton at the moment, Lacroix. So that's a bit of a shame. I know that Wolverine will be absolutely furious with not being able to get his favourite player there, Lacroix. I know that he got Loddy, but he wanted him as well. He wanted him as well. So Wolverine, I'm so sorry, my friend. But it looks like he's going to Southampton. So they got a good win against Chelsea the other night, though. I was pretty impressed. I saw you outside the Etihad. Did you? Why didn't you come and say hello? You should have come and said hello. You sat in the city end. Did you? Oh, wow. You should have come and said hello. Seriously, you should have come and said hello. I don't bite. Come on. Did he fall through with Southampton? Really? This is the first I'm hearing of this. Wow. I've been on my phone all day and I'm not hearing this. This is a bit mental. Well, there you go then. So, so he's staying at Wolfsburg. That's all right. Well, that's a bit of a shame, man. That's a bit of a shame. I think, yeah, as Mark says, I think his pace and his ability as a player all round, he would have fit really, really well into a Steve Cooper team. So, and obviously Forest, really. So, a bit gutted about that one. That would have been a really, really good signing. Never mind. I'm sure that there's other players coming in, whether it's a midfielder, I don't know. I don't think that Houssam Aouar will come in. I know that people have been saying it. He's coming in for ages, but from what I can tell you, I don't think he will be. I know that Mbeso looks like he's going to be going out on loan. From what we can tell at the moment, I would hazard a guess that he will be anyway, because I doubt he's going to get much time if you're bringing in. If Bade comes in today, then I would imagine he would, but that's just what's going to happen. We're going to still have to wait. But before we get a guest on in just a moment's time, when is Steve Cooper signing? Good question. Probably, I would say you'd hope in the coming days, wouldn't you? I've not heard anything new on that, but it seems as though, from what he said in previous press conferences, he just wants to get this transfer window over and done with. And as you can tell, he's very busy. And he said in his press conference, which, by the way, I missed by 5 minutes because I left, he said that the phone will be ringing all night. So, yeah, the phone will certainly be ringing all night, and they'll be working very hard to get some deals done. Now, Dendoncker, he's just signed for Villa as well. I think Villa needs something in that squad, because at the moment they're looking demotivated. But I'm going to add James to the chat in a moment. He's looking a bit dark now. Oh, okay, I think I can just see him here. So I'm just going to add James Machin into the conversation. James, good to have you on.
Hiya.
How are you doing?
I've been following you for quite a while. I've been sending you messages on Twitter to let you know about when you've the thing what you do, what you do. When you when you give people news about things and whatnot.
Yeah.
Really that long as we start, we really need points, really. And I hope we're not finished signing more players. I hope we just get what we need. And and I understand we signed the one for Wolves, aren't we, today?
Yeah, Willy Bolly, yeah.
Yeah, basically, I think we do need to make sure we're getting the players the right strengths, because when we played Man City today, we wasn't playing great. I mean, we got totally thrashed, and I feel basically that even with the players that we had, we could have easily put up more of a fight.
Well, I thought that we wasted the ball a little bit last night, because I mean we're talking about transfers today, but I think we have to mention Man City yesterday.
Yeah.
Now I thought overall it was always going to be a tough game. We knew that, but I think there was times where we're playing the long ball all the time, or we're just blasting it up the pitch, and I don't know why we're wasting that possession, because we looked quite confident going into the attack, but just a bit of a shame that we didn't really manage to get anything. Obviously, Lodi was close with a header in the first half, but just not quite getting the goal. But it's an unfortunate result. But James, let me just ask you, how are you feeling about the transfers that are being done today?
I'm actually one of them, the Wolves one, are quite good. But the thing is, as long as we get the players that we need, and at the end of the day, focus is basically make sure that the players what we had got, make sure they're going to we need to have a strong defense. Now we've got injury problems with certain players. I hope we get another striker or something, a good striker, because I know we got Tyler, but I do think we can't just rely on him, especially we've got players going out. Possibility Storage could be going out apparently. I don't know if it's true, if it's happening or not, but apparently Middlesbrough was interested in him. So I don't know if it's what's going up with that, but I know that some of the players are going out on loan. If we're not be able to use them, loan them out. I hope. I still, me personally, because I play FIFA. What I would have done, I would have. Sometimes players don't use the right strengths. Gets White, you could actually use him as a right midfield. If you really wants to use him in that formation, that's why I use him on FIFA. You can. Quite a lot of these players that we get have multiple positions, so you can use a player if it's got like a right back, right midfield. So you can use them in different positions. But some players are not good. It depends how you play them.
Yeah. Well, the last question I want to ask you, James, and you bring obviously a good point with versatility within the squad, which is obviously very important. It's something that Steve Cooper has looked for in all of his players, so that they can play in multiple positions, obviously in case of anything. But the last question I want to ask you is, what's your ideal signing on this transfer deadline day? Is there one person that you really want to see?
Me personally, I would if it was possible, I definitely would have loved to seen Garner, but I don't know what's going on with that. But even if I was saying, even if we were to sign him, if we was able to sign him on a permanent, and we had we weren't able to use him, we could always loan him out to get more experience. Then at least he's on our books, then we, that you can always call upon him if don't forget, I reckon if the players if the formation we use, put the players in the right positions, and I personally feel that basically we could become a strong side. But I understand we got quantity of players, the quality of players what Man City have got. I do personally feel that we could, players, I do personally think that players, can, if the, strong players, me personally, like I said, I've been playing the latest new FIFA demo. Have you played it yet? The new beta?
I haven't managed. No, I haven't managed. I don't have a console anymore. I'm a bit gutted. Is it good?
I'm on Xbox. Basically, I play the beta, and basically, you've actually got Steve Cooper as a manager on the game, on the manager mode.
Oh wow, that's pretty good.
Basically, you know, he hasn't got a face, he hasn't got a picture, but it's got his name on it.
That's pretty good.
It's only a beta thing. That's out on the 23rd of September. So it's
Oh wow.
basically a few weeks away.
Hmm.
I'm on Xbox anyway, so you know, Xbox Series X. So, you know, if you are going to, you know, I mostly play manager mode. Sometimes, you know, so I definitely would recommend if you're working. I know you're working on the time. You're quite busy. What you're doing, you know, I'm saying, but you know, if you were to get back into that, I think the best platform for me, and what I think, you know, would be basically Xbox, because I believe you get better value for money, especially with the Game Pass.
Oh, he's starting a debate now. Hey, James, before I don't want to go to. Hey, we don't want to go
No,
too
no, 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 no.
controversial.
I'm just saying.
Joking.
You know, I'm just saying. You know that I've been with Youngway for quite a while.
Yeah.
I pay £10 a month. I know what you're saying, but I'm just giving you my view.
Yeah, no,
You
no,
know?
no. You're right. I'm only joking, mate. So, but
Yeah.
James, it's been amazing to speak to you. Definitely come on the next stream if you can, and keep in contact as well. We'll
Yeah,
talk
and also,
transfer.
if you're not aware, at the minute, Forest is still having problems. Some people are still having problems accessing the Forest TV service. Because I've been having problems with that in the minute. I can't access it at the minute.
Right.
Forest is still out of stock on the home shirts and the away one. But the third one, I've got the third shirt.
Right.
And I've got a Lingard on the back of it, number 11.
Oh wow, that's pretty good. That's amazing, mate.
So, you know, keep doing what you're doing, mate. You know, I hope we basically, whatever players we get in, you know, are good for, you know, we're not just getting them for the sake of it, because you don't want to be one of the teams we just get players in willy-nilly because we need them, you know. Apparently, I heard that we was on about getting another right back, probably another striker.
Batshuayi and Aurier,
you know,
so.
Apparently, it was on about apparently we weren't meant to be linked with another player who apparently weren't meant to be hijacking a player from another club. Apparently, is it from France?
Oh, it may have been.
He's only 22-year-old, apparently. Defender.
May have been, it may have been Bade, yeah, but I think the deal's stalled at the moment. So we're just waiting for more news on if Rennes can get a replacement in the next few hours.
Apparently there was one of the players, apparently one of the other clubs, apparently wasn't able to get was it basically a permit to play in the country.
Yeah. Oh, I know who you're talking about, actually. It was. He plays for Roma. He plays for Roma, and he was going to go to Clivert. That's it, Clivert. He couldn't get a work permit.
What I'm saying, the thing is, you know, if we can try to get, you know, we can be a strong side. The thing is, like I said, you know, we've got players like Olympiacos. We could always get if we need to. You know, we could easily bring back on loan Zinchenko. Is that Olympiacos, isn't it?
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen, Jay. Let's hope we don't have to.
No. I'm just saying as a backup alternative. Like I'm saying, because with us, you know, investing more money with Forest. I'm not saying, but you know, if we had the option, you know.
Well, James, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. As I say, keep in contact, and I appreciate your kind words as well, and good Forest chat. And we'll have to have the Xbox PlayStation debate another time, because I do
just
want to
to let you know, probably didn't know, Nottingham Forest actually also have as a supporters wall at the Forest ground.
Yeah,
I've actually got a supporters brick there. I'm a hardcore supporter. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Mine's under the Scott Arch Gamble section.
Wow, mate, that's amazing. I'll have to have a look out for it the next time I'm there, and I'll take a picture and I'll show it to you on Twitter.
Yeah.
Good.
It's got my name on it anyway, because I used to see Trenton Lower see number 45.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Take my name. Yeah.
Well,
I hope, to be honest with you, I actually hope that Forest sorts this season ticket problem out, because basically I wasn't able to get a ticket this season. Ticket.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's...
Yeah, I tried, and so it's all down to this old stupid membership system they've got. I reckon that's a disaster. It's ruining it for people.
Yeah, it's not. It's been a bit of a flawed system to say the least. But James, it's been, as I say, amazing to chat to you, my friend.
Okay, thank
Keep
you
in
very much
contact,
anyway.
and we'll speak to you very soon. Good man. That was the amazing
Okay,
James Machin there, everybody. Thank you, James, for joining.
thank you.
Thank you, mate. And James, really, really good Forest fan, as you can just tell, talking a lot about Forest transfers and a little bit about Xbox as well. So if you are interested, I'm a PlayStation 4 man. I must just say. So yeah, if you're Xbox, I don't care. But seriously, let's talk deadline day. Let's talk transfers. Let's talk about the latest. It looks like Bade is going to be potentially not coming to Forest now unless Rennes do try. Well, they're trying their best at the moment to find a replacement. But oh, look at this. Oh gosh, who? I think Dora's made a new dating site. Everybody, Dora's dating site is back, except it's in a brand new form. 69mega.com. Look at that, Dora. You're really doing the best with this, aren't you? When are you taking your mum to a match? Oh, mum, whenever you want to come to a match, mum, you let me know. You let me know. Guys, everybody as well, like and subscribe. You know what to do. We're so close to 1.2k. If you can make it happen, that'd be great. We're only 17 subscribers off it. So literally, just click the little red button and let's make it happen. And Dor is actually in the chat now. So Dor, you got too much time on your hands, brother. I thought you were a busy man, but he's making these dating sites. I've heard he's making £5 a click at the moment. So Dor's making at least £1,000 an episode. I know he is. I know he's making £1,000 an episode. Dor, you're a legend, mate. Please like the video if you're enjoying it. There'll be, I'm sure, more Dor's dating sites coming up very soon. Don't take it literally, though, please, because I know what people are like. Don't take it literally. It's just a joke. So, Andrew, yeah, James is a brilliant guest. James, if you're listening now, thank you. You're a credit to the fan base. Good to have you joining. Hi, do you know what's going off with the Nottingham Forest sponsor for the shirt? Nothing yet, which is a bit of a surprise. Maybe it'll happen just after the transfer window, but as far as I'm aware, nothing new. Now, I just want to let you all know as well that Cardiff are reportedly interested in the signing of Sam Surridge. Now, I don't believe that this will actually happen. I don't think that Sam Surridge will leave the club, but Cardiff are reportedly interested in signing him on a loan deal, because it doesn't look like he certainly wouldn't leave on a permanent if he was to go, but I would say it's very unlikely that he'll go anyway. Discount Door. Oh God, no, don't start this. He's just Door. You've just made £15 off Mark. I think a thank you is in order there. I think that's a very kind bit of work from Mark there to make some money. Should keep Surridge. Yeah, what is everybody's thoughts on the Surridge situation? Now, as I've said, I don't think he will leave, but theoretically speaking, how are you feeling ahead of this? Are you in, what do you think? Are you loaning him out? Are you keeping him in? For me, I'd keep him in all day, every day, because I think he's clinical and he's a brilliant striker. But what are your thoughts on that, everybody? Let me know down in the chat. 98 of you in. Everybody, give us your opinions, be honest, and give your brutal opinions as well. We want to know what you're thinking, how you're feeling about the transfer window, how you're feeling about team performance, how you're feeling about last night. Talk to me about everything, and let me know, because it'd be good to talk a little bit about football, wouldn't it? It's deadline day, everybody. It's deadline day, and we're here till around 9:30 kind of time. So I don't know if we'll be able to go to 11 because I've got a bit of an important meeting later, which Door you can message me about, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. Get that contract signed, Mr. Well, get that contract signed and ready for me to sign, Mr. Door. I'm waiting. So now looking at the comments, he's our best finisher. Keep, says Mark Dennis. And Warren, good to have you in the chat, my friend. Remember, if you do want to come and join the stream and give us a little bit about your thoughts about the transfer window, you can just click the invite link in the chat and it'd be brilliant to have you do so. Kel says, keep him. We need him to score goals. Definitely keep him. Nick says we won't need him if Batshuayi joins. Interesting. Paul says keep Surridge. And Andrew thinks he'll go on loan till Christmas. Interesting. 6-month loan. Interesting. Owen says Surridge needs game time on loan if we end up bringing 3 strikers in ahead of him. Interesting. Michy Batshuayi looks in a rush because Awoniyi not doing as expected. So you do ask the question, what do you really think is the hold-up with Taiwo Awoniyi? Now, I don't think there's anybody else better to ask than my new friend and also guest for this evening, Max from the Red 1865. See, I caught you a bit off guard there, but he was ready. Max, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, not too bad. How are you doing, Jay?
I'm okay. And there's just someone putting Liverpool in the chat, so let's put them in timeout. Right, they can stay where they are. But seriously, Max, welcome to the show. As I say, deadline day, lots going on. But there's talk of Michy Batshuayi joining. And obviously, this is putting Surridge's place in contention. Maybe he's going to have to go on loan somewhere, or maybe not. Where do you sit? You know, in that whole situation, would you loan him out?
It's a really tough question. You know, I must say I've sort of put my cards on the table in my recent video. I really feel that considering the amount of minutes that he's played for Forest, which, you know, in the grand scheme of things is quite few, is, you know, very little minutes, very little games. I feel like he's earned the respect of the club and sort of deserves a chance, albeit from the bench or albeit as a squad player or rotation player, to have a go. You know, I don't have an inside line into the club. I've never met Sam Surridge myself, but I can imagine that if I was Sam Surridge, I'd be feeling a little bit let down by a club that I've given quite a lot to. If, you know, and I'm not. This isn't like a big criticism of Batshuayi, but if I were Sam Surridge and I were to be replaced by a bit of a journeyman who's never really come good in the Premier League, I'd be thinking, well, hold on a minute. I've got a great relationship with this coach. I've got a great relationship with the fans. I've been a part of this incredible journey that the club's been on. And I don't want to go back to the Championship and play for Borough, for example. You know, I want to be a part of this and I'll fight for my place in the squad. So I certainly sit in the Sam Surridge side of the fence, but certainly if anyone can get anything out of Batshuayi, a player that's struggling in his career, then I do believe Steve Cooper could. But I'd prefer Sam Surridge to stay regardless of what happens with Batshuayi.
And it's not an easy situation to be in, is it, for a manager to, you know, he's got a lot of choice coming in now, and obviously there's potentially 5 players coming in today, 4 or 5 players, and still work being done on everybody. You know, more people coming in even after that potentially. Who knows? You just don't know. It's deadline day. But Awoniyi is someone that people have shared concern about. Now, my view is, and I know that hindsight is a brilliant thing and whatever, but I did say this before, I probably would have started Awoniyi against Man City yesterday. Now, we played a lot of long balls. Maybe that's just out of a coincidence or the fact that that was our tactic. I don't think it was. I think we did a good counter-attack here and there. But we did kick the ball up a lot, and it just didn't make sense to have Gibbs-White as the, you know, alongside Johnson, who I thought, you know, was okay. He did what he could, but it's a hard one for him when you're against, you know, Diaz or Stones or Walker. But I would have thought Awoniyi be better just physically, you know, in terms of his physical presence. But it's not the physical presence that does everything for a striker, though. You do need to actually get some goals, which is a bit of a concern with Awoniyi at the moment. Obviously, people just unsure whether he's actually going to, you know, get some goals and hit form. So do you think maybe Batshuayi is being brought in because of that concern, or do you think he's just a necessary buy anyway?
I think he just brings something maybe slightly different in terms of mobility. But, you know, let's be honest, we've scored 2 Premier League goals this season and Awoniyi scored 1. And yes, it was lucky, but, you know, what was everybody talking about after the game last night? It was about Haaland and how he's just always in the right position. So 50% of our goals this season are from Awoniyi, and it's because he was in the right position. And so, you know, only Steve Cooper knows what the plans would be for Batshuayi, but I can only imagine if this is something that is happening on the final day of the summer, you know, transfer season, I don't think that he'd necessarily immediately be a starting player. I certainly feel that Awoniyi's come from the Bundesliga. He scored 16 goals. He's no mug, and he's clearly a good professional, and he can clearly, you know, play in the big leagues. And Forest are now in the big leagues. So I agree with you, Jamie. I do think that it would have been a good idea to start Awoniyi yesterday. Of course, hindsight's a good thing, but I think what Steve Cooper wanted to do was to try to press, and he felt that those 2 maybe slightly quicker players could do that, had a bit more energy around the pitch. I think there's been some perhaps concerns about this coming into the Premier League season, but I certainly think Awoniyi should start on Saturday against Bournemouth, because I think he's shown when he's played for us in, maybe not in pre-season, but this season, that he's really energetic. He's very driven. His movement's good. He makes some fantastic runs. So to get to circle back, I do think Batshuayi perhaps, would be a second string striker, or just provide a slightly different outlet up top.
And there's a lot of different formations you could use with these players. We know that, maybe a 4-3-3 better suited Dennis, as a winger, maybe, and that makes it's almost odd, because when you bring on these new subs, sometimes you can't just chuck them straight into the standard 2 up top and then a 10. Sometimes it goes 2 10s and a 1, or it could go to a 4-3-3. It's anything could happen. But I think Man City's it's a massive test anyway. I mean, no matter what formation you put out, you're likely going to be crippled, because something that I found similar to Newcastle as well, and perhaps why they clash so well with City, is because their players are, always in space, always 24/7. They've always got eyes everywhere. You know what I mean? It's like, I just found it incredible that Gundogan and Rodri just perfectly linked up the play everywhere. They were almost acting as just the middleman for every single attack, and I thought that was really, really important. And also, as a Forest fan observing it, of course, I was super upset in the City end, and they're all clapping and cheering and saying, "God, Haaland's so good," and I'm just here like, we're losing 6-0. But to have witnessed that kind of level of football is incredible. So you've got to give it to City. But it's not impossible for Forest to play good football, and there was things we could have done differently yesterday. But going into the Bournemouth game, how are you feeling? Because I think people should be a bit more confident. Man City was always going to be difficult, but you should, as Brian Clough said, respect your opponent, don't fear him, but also don't underestimate your opponent as well.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. Of course, we're going to go into this game feeling very much like we've got to win it after losing 6-0. But equally, Bournemouth have just lost their manager and lost 9-0. And so, they're certainly not going to lie down. That they'll feel that they can come to the City ground and beat us. I do think it makes quite an interesting fixture because of there's a little bit of history, I think, with Forest and Bournemouth, just with the game towards the end of last season. I don't know about you, Jamie, but I was at the game, and there was a little bit of a sour taste in the mouth, I think, with their celebrations, with the refereeing decision, who obviously sort of famously after the game apologised to Steve Cooper for that shout, where Surrey should have had a penalty when it was 0-0. So I think maybe, I don't for 1 minute think Steve Cooper and his players are going to be complacent. I think maybe that's creeping into some sections of fans online, because we're seeing, other than yesterday, particularly against Spurs, against West Ham, against Everton, a rapidly improving Forest side despite all these new signings, and then we sort of see Bournemouth lose to Liverpool and think, oh yeah, it's going to be easy, but it's not. I think it's going to be a really tough fixture, and I think to an extent these are the sorts of fixtures where you have to set your own standards, because regardless of Bournemouth's form, if we're not careful, and I've seen this watching Forest for 20 years, we'd play a team that are sort of fifth bottom, and we're just outside the playoffs, and we play like we're fifth bottom. And so we've got to make, and whilst I think that culture's certainly changing under Cooper, we've got to make sure that we set the culture and just go for the jugular, absolutely at them in the first 10-15 minutes. The City ground, I think, regardless of how Forest play, is going to be incredible, because that's just the trajectory of the feeling around the club. But it's not going to be an easy game. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a dogfight, I think.
And obviously it is as you say, a sour situation between the two teams. Obviously Forest wanted, they both got up, but they wanted that, that second place last season. They wanted to make the journey a little bit easier and not have to witness the drama that we witnessed in that second leg in particular. I mean, I witnessed a lot of drama because there was a fight in my stand in the first leg, but that's a different, massive fight between the Sheffield fans. It was weird. But the City ground is going to be very, very, very loud. Obviously we don't like Bournemouth. Bournemouth don't like us. And this stems over what happened last season, essentially. So, but it's not going to be an easy game. And I think that people that are going, right, 3 hits, and I hate that, by the way, Spurs and Man City, 3 hits. I still wanted to get something out of those games.
Yeah,
I went into Spurs and going, do you know what? We could pull off a draw here, really, I think. But we lack that clinical, kind of that end product up front. Which,
well, I think we lacked. I think in the context of Forest, we lacked Taiwo in the box.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds sort of I know it sounds ridiculous. I was talking to your mate Dave Asprey after the game against Spurs, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but I said it felt like if we had 12 players on the pitch, we'd have easily beaten. And what I mean by, if we had the creativity and the movement and the energy of Morgan Gibbs-White, Lingard, and Johnson, and just had Taiwo in the box, just making those intelligent runs, finding those spaces, I think we would have scored goals. And so that's, I think, Cooper's big challenge, is working out, for me anyway, and I'm certainly not a footballing, tactical genius by any stretch of the imagination, but for me, I think Cooper needs to start Taiwo. They've spent 17 million quid on him. Just bite the bullet, give him a run of games, and then work out what two you put behind him. Is it Gibbs-White? I mean, for me, I think it'd be Gibbs-White and Johnson currently. But I think that's the conundrum Cooper's got at the minute.
And it's, we've said it. It's not an easy one to do, and you've got to change formation. You've got to change the way the attack looks almost every time you're bringing on and changing players. But for me, I've said it from the start. It's almost like a Keenan Davis and Sam Surridge situation last season. Jono was always going to be playing. That's a given, right? And whatever, and you'd have Spence and everybody looking back at the good times, and it still is brilliant, But looking at the up top, you'd have Keenan Davis that would go on, completely shatter the defence, maybe get a goal, put some physical presence and some fear into the defenders.
Just be a nuisance, right?
Yeah, and then be a nuisance and just completely run them ragged. And then Sam Surridge would come on last, 20 or so minutes and just pull them apart. And that's what I really liked. And I think that worked. And I don't see why the same can't be done for one of you, because you've got him and Johnson there ready, Gibbs-White behind, or Lingard or whoever, they can wear them out for the first 50, 60 minutes. And then you can get Dennis on to come and finish them off, or vice versa. But I'd prefer to have a one of you to start. And I know people are concerned and saying, well, he's not done this or he's not done this. But has he really been given the biggest of chances to do it? Perhaps yes, at Everton. He should have been more clinical and should have took his opportunities a bit more at Everton.
Yeah.
But that was the third game or whatever. So I think, I think Taiwo Awoniyi, I think he does have some things in terms of physicality that are similar to what Davies had last season. Different players by, obviously, but I would like to see him, as you say, come on against Bournemouth, tire out their defence, and then see what happens from there. That's what I just want to see. I don't know how you feel about that.
Sounds so. Well, I mean, it sounds so simple, but I do agree. Yeah. I mean, if it was only that simple, then football would be an easier game to comment on, wouldn't it? But I would agree, and I certainly think the hierarchy at Forest view Taiwo as an upgrade to Keenan Davis. Hence the price tag. You just look at his goal scoring record last season, and it feels that perhaps in the hustle and bustle of just the myriad of signings that we brought in, that maybe Cooper's, and I hate to sort of even utter a word of potential criticism about him, but there's perhaps been a little bit too much experimentation with these attacking midfielders. If we're to look at it simply, we're a newly promoted club in the most competitive and ruthless league in the world, and we haven't started the last two games with strikers that score goals. And of course, anyone can score a goal. Dean Henderson could come up and score an overhead kick, and at the rate he was at before that City game, it wouldn't have surprised me. But if we've got a striker that we forked out at the time of club record fee for, just give him 5 games. He's already scored in his, in the game against West Ham. So in his first start. So I do agree. I feel that if you started Taiwo, you could almost see it as like a levelling up of the amazing squad that we had last season in terms of Keenan and then Johnson and somebody else, perhaps Morgan Gibbs-White replacing Zinkernagel, all of which are upgrades. And I do think Cooper will. I think he's shown actually quite a lot of courage to not start Lingard against a top side, because ultimately Lingard's looking to resurrect his England career. He probably was very much looking forward to playing those big games as an underdog, and Cooper's put him on the bench. And I think whilst I do think Lingard needs a little bit of time. He's not played competitive football for a year, and he was never going to hit the ground running. I think that was a brave decision for Cooper, but I think the next thing will be to start Taiwo and do what you're saying. So I would agree, but it's not simple.
It's not simple, absolutely not. And there's suggestions going around. Someone suggested a 4-2-3-1, which is interesting. And as much as I would go, oh yeah, that'd be quite good. And ideally, if Mangala was back, it'd be for me, maybe have Mangala and Freuler. Mangala and O'Brien, and then Morgan Gibbs-White just in front, Dennis left, Johnson right, and then whoever up front. But my problem is with the back four and it's not anything to do with the wing backs not having defensive abilities, because they do. I thought that Lodi was a bit unfortunate, I think, to have someone like Bernardo Silva coming against him, because Bernardo Silva, you think he's going to go and put in a cross down the right, but he just cuts into the middle. There's too much space left on the edge of the box, and he's got all this time in the world to play with it and maybe getting a shot. So, in terms of the City game, hard. But Nico Williams and Lodi, I thought, were really, really good, in terms of defence. It was tough, obviously, but I thought they did really well. So the back four wouldn't concern me there. But I do like the security of three, in the centre-back position. But even then, it's like there's flaws to it as well. But, a 4-2-3-1 doesn't actually sound that bad to me. But it's just you're missing out on that attacking ability that Lodi possesses that we kind of saw glimpses of against City. I just think it's hard, because no matter what formation you do, you're minimising someone's full potential in some aspect.
Absolutely.
So do you stick with, the formation we got now, or would you be tempted to move to something like a 4-2-3-1?
Well, I'd be really interested to see a 4-2-3-1 in action, because I think, like you say, whilst it perhaps diminishes the sort of skills of our wing backs, it gives us more up top. So it maybe allows someone like Dennis to start rather than come off the bench, etc. However, I can't see it happening precisely because of the players we've signed, particularly Renan Lodi. He's not necessarily renowned for being an outstanding defender. He's renowned for being a decent defender that's very good going forward. And so if I was to make a prediction, it would be that it's unlikely to change, bar extenuating circumstances, if we're winning 3-0, for example, or if there's a load of injuries. So I'd be interested, but I can't see it happening myself.
I know I definitely can't, especially now as well. I think going into Saturday, I'd be very surprised if they were to experiment with much new. Obviously, the newer players.
Going into Saturday, Jamie, could you see? Do you think? I know I think you want him to start Taiwo. Can you see him? Do you think he'll start Taiwo?
Yeah, I do. I think. Of course, people are going to say, well, why change what we had? But for me, I prefer Morgan Gibbs-White as a 10. I do. I like him as the 10 more. I thought he was really, really, I think he was good when he was on at Man City, but I just think, the passes and the skill that he possesses to work on the counter-attack, I think is important as the 10. But for me, I'd say, I'd say it's likely. I think people are going to say it's not, just because, oh, well, he hasn't done this or he hasn't done this. But I thought for the time he was on at City, he was good. He was the only person that managed to knock over Diaz the whole time, and he was the only person that really presented any challenge to that defence, So I like the idea of starting.
Mate, against West Ham, I watched him every pre-season game, and whilst I didn't want to jump on the bandwagon of people that had already sort of written him off as a flop striker, I could sort of see where they were coming from in that they weren't impressed. But against West Ham, I just thought, he had Zuma in his back pocket. He was incredibly strong with 2 or 3 defenders on him. I thought his passing was great. The intelligence of his runs were very good. I thought he looked an absolute coup. And then, whilst I understand you have to change up for different opponents, and I thought it was a good decision to take him off and bring on Morgan Gibbs-White against Everton, because he played fantastically, but I don't think Taiwo had a bad game. I thought he looked great against West Ham. So I do think he will start, and I wouldn't be surprised if he got a goal actually. But anyhow, all in all, I think Batshuayi would play second fiddle to Taiwo. I think he has to if you spent 17 million on him. But
well, we don't know how much we're going to spend on. Obviously, we've spent the 17 million on Awani, but there's not actually any current indication of how much we're going to spend on Batshuayi, whether it's going to be a loan or whether Chelsea are just going to let him go. Now, he was in the Turkish Super League last season. He got, played 33 games, including 5 Champions League appearances, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was at Galatasaray, and he got 14 goals, 3 assists. So you're looking at roughly a goal every 2 games, or a contribution every 2 games, roughly, really. What are your thoughts on that? Now, I know it is the Turkish Super League, but it's still, a decent league. 33 games, he's played a lot, and, a goal every 2 games isn't an awful stat. So what kind of puts you off a little bit about Batshuayi then?
What puts me off is, and I know we've just signed, what are we on, 19 or 20? We're currently on 19, aren't we? 19 players.
Yeah, it's going to be 22 if we get Bowler, Batshuayi and Bade.
Yes, the 4 Bs. I like that, by the way.
You like,
Despite that, what I don't like about it is that it's so last minute. And the great thing about doing what we do and writing and reporting about Forest is there have been lots of rumours this summer, lots of noises coming out of the club. Am I still on, or did I?
Yeah. No, you're on, mate. You're on. It's okay. Yeah, you lagged for a little bit. You're okay though.
Okay. So yeah, we've had lots of noises. I've not heard Batshuayi until today, and so it feels ever so slightly rushed. And what I'm very anti is panic signing or panic buying. We've got a £70 million striker that we've just talked loads about, so I won't repeat myself in Taiwo. We've also got an albeit unproven but incredibly hard-working, well-loved natural goal scorer in Sam Surridge. So that's what worries me a little bit about Batshuayi. But if he's got a goal contribution like you've just said in every other game, then that's probably what's put him back on the market, and that's probably what has made Cooper even consider giving this the green light. And I know it's a bit of a cop-out and it's a bit of a fanboy thing to say, but ultimately, if Cooper is dead set on getting him and think, yeah, this is a great shout, then I'm all for it. And I know that's not the most insightful journalism you'll ever hear, but that's the way I feel as a Forest fan, is that if Cooper really wants him, then I'm happy for it. But yeah.
Well, I mean, from reports coming from the Standard, Standard Sport, who do obviously sports news, and in particular Nizar Kinsella, who covers Chelsea, Fulham, in England for the Standard, he's saying that he's going to sign on a free transfer. So, I mean, I would say, for him, some have valued him at 33 million, I think, on previous estimates. Obviously when he's been in form, but a free deal, does that make you a little bit more inclined to like him? Remove any aspect of what Steve Cooper wants or anything. Now talk about what you in specific think. Does him being on a free transfer make you feel any more endeared to that deal happening? Or are you still in the same camp of not really that sure about him?
Without casting aspersions on the Batshuayi's character, because I've never met him and I've never really heard anything about him, particularly anything negative. I actually, I think I prefer a loan signing with an option to buy or an option for a free transfer or something like that. I quite like the idea that someone has to come in and prove themselves rather than sign him on a free transfer for some really good wages for 2 years. And 3 weeks, 3 months later, he realises he's not going to get in the squad and then contributes to a negative culture in the dressing room. Obviously, that's a little bit of me catastrophizing and thinking the worst. But I don't mind either way, Jamie, really. I think if he comes and scores goals and Cooper wants him, I'm happy. But I don't mind him just coming on a loan. Because, like I said, I quite like the idea that you've got to prove yourself and you've got to earn yourself a contract. And so if there's some, clause in his contract that says if he scores X amount of goals, then we'll sign him and give him a healthy signing on fee, then that sounds good to me. What about you?
To be honest, it's one of those signings where you kind of go, oh my God, it's Batshuayi, but because he plays for Chelsea and whatever, and or he played for Chelsea, or he's come to, I think he played at Dortmund for a little bit as well.
Yeah.
He was doing okay at a couple of clubs, and it's all right. It's okay. I don't mind it. He's a decent player, but obviously I don't know a hell of a lot about him. Looking at last season's stats, you kind of go, "Oh, he's okay." He could be a good, backup striker or potentially striker or whatever. But yeah, I don't know enough about him. And to be honest, if you're looking at players within the team, it's like, well, Surridge has done more for us than essentially every striker there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but we're all overlooking him, you know, which if you look at it, it wouldn't make sense really. But the way Surridge played last season was the way I mentioned earlier, you know, with Davis there, you know, coming on before or to, you know, so Surridge has a different way of scoring, but he's clinical. You know, his conversion rate is fantastic. You look at every goal that he's scored, it's always beautiful, you know, and it's coming off the post or it's, you know, it's in the top right hand corner. He never scores a bad goal. Do you know what I mean? So
No, they're all
I love.
screamers.
They're all screaming, and he's a brilliant player as well, you know, and all round. So I like him a lot, but he doesn't look the same still now to me. I think that he's not recovered from that injury fully yet. That's why I'll say I don't think he'll go out on loan, because for me, I mean, I don't know if you've made this observation. He still doesn't look up to, even in that cup game, he still doesn't look up to how he was, you know, even the way he's running and, you know, things like that.
I'd agree.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't look the same.
I completely agree. And I also think that he's got such a tight relationship with Steve Cooper. I can't see Cooper wanting him to go. You know, this might all be complete speculation, and it's sent us down a rabbit hole that actually doesn't exist, because Cooper's worked with him a lot, and I think, like Gibbs White, has a real soft spot for him. He's very fond of the player he can become and the player that he is becoming. And so I agree. I think fitness would be a concern. If I'm Steve Gibson at Middlesbrough, you know, the owner, and I'm thinking, well, I'm not that sure. He's only just come back from an operation and not looked himself. So I do wonder if this is sort of a little bit of a, just rumour mill that we don't necessarily need to trust.
And it's not, you know, that's not to say by any means that he wasn't good in the cup or that he hasn't been good when he's played, but he just doesn't look quite right yet. And I know that Forest 100% wouldn't just loan him off if he wasn't fit anyway. And I'd be tempted to say the reason he's not getting much game time is purely because of the fact that, you know, he's not fully fit yet. But be my guess. So obviously there's nothing to say that that's true, but I would say from my observation that I've made watching Forest every game this season bar the cup match, I thought he was quite good. So I mean, I'm a bit gutted that I'm going to miss out on Leeds and Fulham, but there you go, Mallorca. Just it happens.
Yeah, you got to do it, mate. Yeah, I'm sure you won't. I'm sure you won't regret it when you're in a bar watching it.
No, I won't regret it. I'll be out in Mallorca watching the game on the beach. So bit good I can't be there because I've always wanted to go to Ellen Road, to be honest. But there you go. Experience a bit of Leeds, but they're obviously on the up as well. They're going to be a really tough team to play against. Whatever people are saying, you know, about this being another game that we're just going to go in and win. Horribly mistaken. Horribly.
Yeah, we've got to avoid that at all costs. It's a fool's game to go into any game, even in the Championship, but particularly in the Premier League. It's a fool's game to say it's a given. So no, I'm on board with you there, Jamie. I'm not quite sure.
Well, I got some breaking news for you. I got some breaking news for you, Max, because despite the rumour of Loic Bade stalling his loan to Nottingham Forest, the deal has gone through. Loic Bade becomes the 20th Nottingham Forest signing of the summer. I know that Josh Bowler's expected a little bit later on, but as it stands, Loic Bade has joined Nottingham Forest on loan with an option to buy worth £12 million as well. He joins from French side Rennes, so it looks like they're going to secure a backup to Loic Bade then. So I did say to you all, don't panic. We've got another 3 hours to do this, and it's happened. So I don't know a lot about Bade. I will just say this. I have not a massive knowledge of him, but I do know that he's got a bit more pace than the other defenders. He's a younger player, and he's got experience in a good French side. So without obviously having to know a lot about him, how does my sales pitch sound to you of Loic Bade now that he joins?
Look, I'm by no means a League One expert whatsoever, but I have just written. I tell you what I'm thinking. I've just written an article for BTL Sports about Forest's need for speed at the back, and I'm already thinking I'm going to have to change that now because we've signed a centre back with a lot more pace, and something which I absolutely welcome, by the way. Look, Willy Bolly is going to add quality and depth, lots of aerial threat from set pieces. He's got a very similar game to Joe Worrell. He's just a good passer of the ball, and what we obviously like to do is to sort of maintain that possession in our back three and then find gaps to the midfield. So I do think Bolly's a good signing, but he didn't necessarily fill me with the same excitement as this signing, purely on the basis of age, how injury prone he is, and speed. I think ultimately what this signing is going to do is provide long-term competition to Moussa Niakhaté, and potentially, although I can't quite see it, that it's because I idolise him a little bit, Scott McKenna and Joe Worrell. And that's what's exciting about this. You know, look, if Bolly comes in, scores 2 headers in 2 games and plays incredibly well, then crack on, let's start him. But this player from Rennes is younger, he's quicker, he's meant to be incredibly good on the ball. Again, I'm not a league expert, so don't quote me on it. But I'm very excited by it. I think in the long term, it makes Forest an even more competitive outfit defensively. Because then the last thing I'll say about it, Jamie, is I felt very much just in the past week to 10 days, or since the Morgan Gibbs-White signing, is that the quality of our attacking midfielding positions is now was far above where our defensive quality was. And so I feel that these 2 signings have just upped that a little bit, and that there's sort of like a consistent high level in terms of both quality and depth now in the side. So chuffed to bits for that. Happy days.
Happy days indeed. I mean, you know, I think as well, you know, the experience Willy Bolly brings as well is fantastic. The advice that he can give to other defenders. And, you know, as you say, I idolise Scott McKenna 100%, because I think we still don't talk about him enough. I mean, he got Player of the Year and whatever, and we still don't talk about him enough because he's phenomenal, is Scott McKenna. But looking at, you know, this signing, I wanted to ask, as somebody else asked as well in the comments, somebody asked what your back 4 would be. I'm trying to find the comment now, so just give me one moment. So Andrew Sharp says what our back line will be. So let's go through the stages of the squad. Then let's start with the back 4, unless you're planning to change keeper, which I hope you're not. But
no.
What would I say back 4? Sorry, should I say what would your back line be? Now looking at the fact that we've brought in 2 centre backs, you know. But what would it be for you? Oh, I think Max has crashed. Just wait for Max to come back, and then we'll... Oh, I think he might be back now. Wait. Few technical issues here, people. It's all good. I think he's coming back slowly.
It's a little bit laggy.
Are you all right? We're trying to revive him now. We're trying to revive him. Send your prayers. We're trying to revive Max. We need his opinion on this back line. Please let us know if you can hear us all well. I hope you can. Oh, I think Max is rejoining. He's good. He's back.
We're back. What would my back 4 be? Was that the question?
Well, what would our back line be? I'm jumping to conclusions of a formation change. That's my fault. What would your back line be?
I know this isn't particularly exciting. My back 5 against Bournemouth, considering the fact that it's Thursday, would be, and this is so dull, I'm sorry, Jamie, I'm not going to bring you much clickbait here. My back 5 would be, or back 3, I'd have Renan Lodi on the left. I'd have Joe Worrell, Steve Cook, Scott McKenna and Nico Williams. I think Steve Cook against Bournemouth, there's just something tasty about that. I'm a big believer in like sentimentality in football, and think that you know, bullet header from a corner. And I just think to bring in someone that's never played in the Premier League from Rennes and start him on Saturday, I'm not too sure. But in the long run, I do think you know, that could shift Steve Cook out, perhaps. Steve Cooper, not a chance. Steve Cook out of the defensive line and stick in, I forgot his name. From Rennes. What's his name?
Oh, Bade.
That's it.
I was going to say, I didn't think that Steve Cooper's time at Wrexham really constituted him being replaced, to be honest. But there you go. That's your opinion. But I'm going to have to disagree on that one. But Steve Cook.
What do you think about our defence?
Well, I thought that
the lineup,
and it sounds really, really harsh, to be honest. But I do think that Steve Cook would be better than Kouyaté, because for me, Kouyaté looked lost in that defence. For me, it didn't look like him and Joe Worrell really got on all that well, to be honest, because at one point you've got Joe Worrell telling him, you know, to do something else on the free, you know, and then Kouyaté saying, just kick it down the line or whatever. And it's like, well, Kuyate's what, 31, 32. He's got a wealth of experience. But at the end of the day, Joe Worrell's the captain.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of a clash there for me. I just don't think they're particularly, not saying that they don't get on and that they're not friends or anything, but for me, it looked like they just didn't have that same chemistry that Cook has. And yes, Cook's not the fastest of players and whatnot, but he's played against all these sides we're going to play this season.
Yeah.
Some of them not ridiculously changed since he last played against them. So why wouldn't we have Steve Cook there? But obviously, I don't know what the concern was, why they didn't play him against City. Obviously, Kuyate was all right against Grimsby, wasn't he? But just looks a bit lost in that defence for me. What did you think of it?
I agree. I don't think he looks particularly like a centre-back. I know he's played there before. I don't think Steve Cook did anything, well, perhaps he did because of the handball, but just in terms of his overall performance, I don't think Steve Cook did much to warrant starting on the bench. We know that he's coming towards the end of his career. I don't want to sort of, say that too early, but perhaps it could have been a knock or just, wanting to keep him fit for the Bournemouth game. I'm not sure, particularly after these two signings, we will ever see Kuyate play centre-back unless there's a bout of COVID in the defenders and we have to do it, because I would agree. I thought he looked pretty lost. And I don't think he looks that much quicker than Steve Cook. I think the best defenders, their pace comes from their positioning. I know that sounds a little bit cliche, but Steve Cook is a proper centre-back who has played in the Premier League for a long while. And I think his positioning gives him that extra yard, not of pace, but it gives him that extra yard on the Haalands of the world. And I'm not saying that he would have kept Haaland shut by any stretch of the imagination, but I would suspect that Cook will play on Saturday. And I watched, I didn't go to the game yesterday, but I did notice the slight sort of scorn in Worrell's remarks towards Kuyate a couple of times, actually. So, but I think that's good. I think it's good that we've got a captain that drives standards on the pitch and doesn't mince his words. I wouldn't want it any other way. And if it means that they're not going to chat for a couple of weeks, then who cares? Because we're not here to make friends. We're here to win football games. And so, let's see.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about Haaland, obviously, and I don't want to go too much down a Man City tangent. So I want to talk about Bianconi after this, because people are saying in the chat, and I thought I agree, actually. He looked actually decent when he was on there. Winning headers, looked, good amount of pace to him. He's obviously a big guy as well. But Haaland, for me, he was in all the right positions, but he seemed unmarked in almost every single one. Maybe not the third goal, because came off someone's leg and you can't really stop that. But a couple of times it was like the Harry Kane situation where you just think, well, why have we given him so much space to go and do that at times? Obviously, different with City because they're always putting him in good positions and he always knows where to go. There's a couple of times where you just think it made it a bit too easy for him. I mean, how many's got like 9 goals in the last few games? And it's just obscene. It's obscene. He's a fantastic striker. And, Steve Cooper was giving him all the credit. And what he deserves as well. And I don't want to be too controversial with saying this, because I think that I really like all the Forest defence. I think they do well and they've got good qualities. A couple of things I just think they sometimes they don't mark their men and they leave their men sometimes a bit. And I don't know how you feel about it. I don't know if you even agree with that, to be honest. But for me, just an observation I've made, I just think sometimes they leave people free, and you can't do that with a team like Man City. Albeit difficult to mark them, but can't do it.
Okay, with the first goal, Haaland's just manhandled Worrell. Worrell is marking him, but he's the superior athletic beast, and he put him down and scored a great goal. The second goal, the defence looked a bit lost, and someone should have taken responsibility and just stuck to him like glue, even if they didn't know the ball was going to end up near him. Right, so I agree with that. The Haaland's third goal with that header back across from Stones, he sort of bodied Worrell, who didn't get up, who I think probably thought that phase of play finished and we'd cleared it, but it ended up back at Stones and he didn't get back up quick enough. So certainly it warrants understandable criticism. Where I don't stand, and I'm not saying that you're saying this, even if you do say this, that's fine. But I certainly don't stand in the camp that suddenly say Worrell isn't good enough for the Premier League.
No, 100%. Yeah.
But I would agree that yesterday, on particularly that third goal, he just didn't get up quick enough. He wasn't sharp enough because he was on the floor. He got back up, challenged Haaland for the header, but wasn't there quick enough, and then ended up on the floor again. And so I think that's just testament to the speed in which City play and how fantastic they are. And look, we're worlds apart from City. You know, any Forest fan that thinks we're not is deluded, and I don't think there are any that think that. But it was a mixture of sort of disappointment in that I think lack of accountability a little bit in a couple of those goals, and just, you know, we've become so used to winning games that to lose 6-0 is a real sour pill to swallow. But I'm very happy to draw a line on that, chalk that off as a brilliant day out for the Forest fans in Manchester, proving why I think we're the best in the league, and we really focus on Bournemouth now.
Absolutely. And the last thing I will say on Man City is in that first goal, you know, when you look back at it, and I had the screen in front of me, and I looked back and I went, maybe we can't blame Worrell as much for this, because Yates could have stuck a foot in there to try and stop that ball. He did let it go past him, you know, a little bit, to be honest. And it seemed, I don't know whether that was intentional, or, I mean, it probably wasn't intentional. It's never going to be intentional, obviously, but maybe just needs to be a bit sharper when he's watching that ball coming through. But as much as we can say about the defence as well, there's other bits that Man City have to get through in order to actually get to the defence, and the midfield is a massive, massive part of that. You know, and we haven't really got a physical midfield. And I'm sorry, but if you've ever seen Rodri in person, the man's an absolute beast. You know what I mean? Don't just look at pictures of him on Facebook or Twitter. The man is literally a beast. It's like he's been on a season at Bayern Munich. He's incredible. But it's incredible. But I don't know how you felt about that. But yeah, as Mark says, it just felt like he pulled out on that one. And that's not me saying I don't like Yates, because I do. And I think he's hit the ground running really and done quite well.
Yeah.
But that for me was a bit of a concern on that first goal.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think in the grand scheme of things, whilst that led to a goal, we did concede 5 others, and we just weren't sharp enough anyway. I think Steve Cooper said as much, really, and that quite a lot of the goals we conceded were quite naive. And whilst they didn't give up in terms of their spirit and stuff like that, which would have been very difficult considering the amazing support that we had, I think it's probably fair to say that Yates could have done more. And I think that word that I sort of mentioned earlier about accountability, maybe relaxed slightly. But like I said, I think we move on. We don't try to dwell too much on losing against the likes of City. And we focus on the sort of mini league that we're in. We focus on the teams that we have got a shout of beating. I think we were closer than the scoreline suggests against Spurs. And I've got no doubt that Yates, Worrell, whoever else made these minor mistakes, Henderson, well, maybe not minor, but who made these slip-ups, are going to put it right on Saturday. I'm really confident.
Well, looking ahead, obviously we've spoken a little bit about Saturday, but the next 4 games, you've got Bournemouth, Leeds, Fulham and Leicester. Now, there's 12 points all to play for there. I think Fulham or Leeds going to be the hardest of challenges. I mean, obviously, they're all going to be very, very difficult. They're all Prem sides, you know. Well, the only side that really, I would say, struggling properly, Bournemouth the most. But you've got Leicester and Aston Villa there also that are struggling. So really, Leicester, Aston Villa and Bournemouth, the 3 sides that are struggling the most, and a bit of an unexpected challenge as well. I didn't think that Leicester and Aston Villa would be quite as bad as they have started. Obviously, Steven Gerrard, lots of pressure on him, but who knows, he might not even be manager by that point. You know, you've still got over a month until we play them. But out of that 12 points, if it's too early, so do tell me if you don't think you can answer. But out of those 12 points, realistically, do you think how many do you think we will get? Because I say we're capable of all 12. That's capable, but do I think we will get all 12? Not for me.
Yeah. I'd agree we're capable. I'd agree I don't think we will. I am a romantic optimist when it comes to Forest, though. And so I'm going to say, and some people might say this isn't optimistic. For me, I think it is. I'm going to say 8 points, 2 wins, 2 draws. Are you talking about the next 4 games, Jamie, or is my maths awful?
No, yes. The next 4 games, so 12. Yeah,
Shit.
no, yeah.
All right. I thought I'd pulled out a number that didn't make sense. No, I think 2 wins, 2 draws, Jamie. I think whilst I don't think that it's going to be an easy walkover game, I think we'll beat Bournemouth. I think we will beat Leicester. I think we'll draw the other 2. Whilst I agree, and I didn't see it coming with Villa. I didn't. I know they didn't end very well, but I do think Steve Gerrard is a good sort of pedigree of manager. You can't do what he did at Rangers and not be a good manager, in my opinion. He's certainly not the finished article. I didn't see it coming with Villa. I did have a feeling about Leicester, though. You know, they've made their first outfield signing today. And I know that a couple more might come through the door. And yes, that could change things. But the tone of Brendan Rodgers' voice is different. There's clearly, you know, a money-saving strategy to try and avoid financial fair play. They've invested billions into the new training complex. And I just think that the culture there has shifted. And we see that with Wesley Fofana, him refusing to play, or all of the sort of drama around that. And I think that, considering what happened in the FA Cup last season, considering that Forest are sort of on the up and Leicester are on the down slightly, and that it's a rivalry, I think we can beat Leicester. What do you think, though? We got 12 points available. Do you think 8's hopelessly optimistic?
Yeah, I think we can beat Bournemouth. I think, yeah, draw Leeds, draw Fulham. Yeah, I think that's a fair. I'd say that's a fair assessment. But you know, obviously, the Aston Villa one after all these 4 games as well. Yeah, I'd say 8 points seems fair, to be honest.
If we got 6, though, if we got 6 and we were then on 10 points after, is that 8 games?
Yeah, 8 games. Yeah.
I would take being on more points than them we are games at that point in the season. So I think it's possible to get 8. I think it's slightly optimistic, but I'd rather be optimistic than pessimistic. But I do think 6 is definitely achievable. Yeah, I do think that's achievable.
And we should go for it as well, because we should be setting the standard. I mean, you shouldn't just be beating any team, because at the end of the day, it's the Premier League. It's the Premier League. We're not in the Championship, and we're not last season where we could have gone, okay, we're at the City Ground today. We've got to beat Peterborough. We've got to beat Barnsley. It's just your standard. Let's just go and beat them. Whereas now we're in the Premier League, we're the team where people go, well, we should be beating them. You know, so we've got to realise that we're not as high up as we think we are, just because of the amount of money we've spent. You know, we've brought in a lot of good players, and we've got a good coaching staff, and we've got a good owner, and we've got a good structure at the moment, but we've not done the business yet. You know, we've still got to get past Bournemouth. You know, and our goal difference isn't particularly fantastic, shall we say? It's -9. You know, so it's not good. It's nearly 2 goals conceded per game, which isn't that impressive. But obviously, you know, there's work that can be done. Obviously, you're bringing in 2 centre-backs for a reason. So there's going to be a big shake-up in that defence. And to be honest, the only player, and this isn't because I don't like Worrell, because I do, and I really do rate him, but if there was going to be any changes in that back 3, the only player that would stay for me would be McKenna. That would be, for me, the only player that would stay.
Jamie, I do think that's fair to say, yeah.
Do you know? Because I don't want to say it, because obviously, and this is the thing about Joe Worrell, I think people don't want to. Now, there's a difference between constructively criticise and just full out insult and attack him. I will never attack Joe Worrell or any player for that matter, in fact, because I know that even playing Saturday League, you know, someone says something nasty, you'll go home and you'll really beat yourself up about it, or you'll be dead upset. And I know that Joe Worrell will be the same. Constructive criticism, though, has a different effect on you. And for me, I think that people don't want to give him constructive criticism because he's been at Forest for so long. He's a Forest lad and he's the club captain. But you've got to be fair to every other player that you give constructive criticism, and do the same for everyone. So there's things he can improve on, no doubt. But for me, as a constructive opinion, I would only see Scott McKenna staying in that back 3 for me. And I'm not going to shy away from saying that. Do I think that we should just drop Joe Worrell? No. But do I think that if it came to it, who would you keep? Scott McKenna every day of the week. Don't know how you feel about that, but that's...
No, Jamie, I think that's an incredibly thoughtful insight. And I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head there. So if you're going to clip anything from this YouTube video, I think that's the best thing. I couldn't agree more. I think perhaps I was reluctant. I think in response to some of the sort of slander he got after the Everton game, I went the whole pendulum swing for a couple of days and felt like anything that was constructive criticism of Joe Worrell was blasphemy. And then actually, when I thought about it and had written a few things about Forest, you cannot deny that pace is an issue for Worrell. But also you can't deny that on his day, he can be a fantastic defender. And so I'm fully on board. No one is above reproach. And of any of those players, like you say, I think McKenna's the most consistent and highest performer. And so if Steve Cooper needs to make changes and that involves Worrell, then fine. But I can also see a world where actually Niakate comes back and it's those three if they're performing really well. And that's the great thing about today is that, like I said, a few minutes ago, I think that the depth and quality of our defence now matches our midfield and attacking midfielders. You might say that maybe we're lacking as a striker, but the great thing from today is we've got those options and we've got that depth, and that means that the likes of Worrell, the likes of Cook are going to be absolutely on their A game if they weren't already. So I think really positive largely about the defence and the willingness to change.
Well, I've got some breaking news for you in the defence. Actually, now we come to speak of it. Serge Aurier has agreed, Nottingham Forest have agreed with Serge Aurier to sign him on a free transfer. He's obviously out of contract after leaving Villarreal. Now, we're just waiting for a visa and work permit to be sorted out. But as Nick Hemphill pointed out earlier, Nottingham Forest don't actually have to sign him by 11 today. It's a bit later because he's a free agent, so we don't have to worry about that. But he is going to be joining the club. So as it stands, it's ruined the 4 Bs that we had. But today it's going to be Batshuayi, you know what I'm saying, but Batshuayi, Bowler, Bade, Bolly, Aurier, and then I think there was another one mentioned earlier as well, potentially. But there's 5 there at the moment, and there was a couple of rumours floating around my end, but I'm not going to mention them because I don't think they're credible. So Aurier's coming in. That's a right back there. What do you make of that news? Because it's certainly news I didn't expect to see right now. I would have maybe expected it to see it a bit later on in the night. But right back coming in. Thoughts?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you glossing over my incredibly clumsy jumper takeoff.
I didn't want to say anything about that. I was like,
the camera almost ended up on the floor. So yeah, no, I almost got topless by mistake on YouTube. So I'm glad that didn't happen. But no, on Serge Aurier, look, it's another one that is similar to, I think, Batshuayi, but not completely. Look, I think he's got a great pace. It's going to be great to have someone if Nico Williams gets injured. It's going to be great to have somebody that's more experienced that can mentor Nico Williams, particularly in his first real full season in Premier League. I do think Aurier received slightly too much criticism at Tottenham. There's always a scapegoat, isn't there? And I think at a particularly demanding fan base like Tottenham, I think he probably received too much criticism. But he didn't necessarily set the world alight. And so I think I'll reserve judgment. But, there's certainly reason to be excited. And like I just mentioned a few minutes ago. So, yeah, I'm a bit on the fence with that one, Jamie. What do you think?
Well, I mean, we're all very quick to jump in. I mean, I've mentioned things about him in the past, and this is judgments that I can't make now, but judgments that others have passed on to me, about the attitude problem and things like that. Obviously, I can't say that I've seen that yet, so I'm not going to say that he's got a bad attitude or he's not good or this and this, but we should reserve that judgment for when he comes to Forest and however he performs here. Obviously, he's been at PSG, he's been at Villarreal, he's been at Tottenham, so he's been at the best teams of 3 different countries, and obviously I never want to say it because it's not a step down. We're a Premier League team, do you know what I'm saying? And for his ability, this is where he's at the moment. I would say I don't think he particularly deserves to go back into a Villarreal squad or a Tottenham squad or a PSG squad, and that's not to put Forest down either, because I think that we're going to do a lot better, and I think he will believe in that and he'll know that, but he'll also know what he has to do to get into that team, and if he's not starting in a Forest team, that's maybe going to and if he knows he's not going to start in a Forest team as well, do you really think he's going to have a bad attitude? I don't think he would, because I think he's going to know he's going to have to fight for his place. And if he really wants to get back into first team football, he's going to have a better attitude to do that. So I would say save your judgment for if we see him, or, if and when we see him in a Forest shirt, and save your, and I think it's a really good point made about, mentoring Nico Williams, because I think Nico Williams has been fantastic to consider that he's only had a bit of Prem time and I think he had a bit of Champions League time as well. against Atlanta, I think it was, with Liverpool once, if I can remember correctly. But but this is it, and we shouldn't prejudge players. Obviously, as Jimmy Wright says here, Jed had same attitude, or there was rumours of him having a bit of an attitude, but in reality, from what we saw, wasn't a ridiculous amount. I still think there was something there. Personally, I think there was something there that I wasn't really 100% convinced about. I wasn't 100% convinced of his allegiance to Forest. That people portrayed he had. I wasn't. From the moment he left, I knew that was it. I think as soon as promotion happened, I think he knew how much of a well-known player he'd become. And there's nothing wrong with that. You want to move on to different things. You want to move on to greener pastures, if you like. I mean, I don't agree that Tottenham is particularly a greener pasture in his career, but he wanted to move on and do other things. I think we knew that from the start, hence why Forest didn't even go for him, from what I'm seeing. So that's just my opinion on Jed Spence. But when it comes to attitude, we've got to be careful of prejudging players, and also with the transfers as well. The term panic buy we used with Surridge, but actually, how did Surridge turn out? So save the judgment for when they're on the pitch, I would say. But do you think that Serge Aurier is a panic buy, or do you think he's necessary? Because it's been boiling up for a while, so I would say it's pretty necessary.
Yeah, I'd say it's necessary, and it's not a panic buy, purely because we've heard noises about this for a good few weeks now, and I certainly expected at the time that this would be done before deadline day. And so that does alleviate some of my concerns about attitude that have been flying around. But like you say, we don't know that, and so we have to reserve judgment. And because this isn't a panic buy, because this has been going on for a few weeks, I've got no doubt he's sat in front of Steve Cooper or been on Zoom or on the phone to Steve Cooper. And again, Steve Cooper, if he had some concerns about attitude, wouldn't allow them into the club ultimately, because one of the things I think that he prides himself on is the due diligence they do on players to bring them in. And I think that I forgot the name of the fellow that commented, but I think that's a great point. I've heard, from people in and around the club that there were some slight concerns about Jed Spence, but what Joe Worrell, what Ryan Yates, and what particularly Steve Cooper are very good at is an arm around the shoulder approach that sort of brings people that might place themselves on the outside by some of their virtues or some of their sort of behaviours to bring them in. All of this is conjecture, by the way. I'm sure Serge Aurier is not watching this, but if he was, he might be a little bit frustrated that we're even having this conversation. Because you could very much argue that the treatment that Serge Aurier had, not only by the fans, but also through his tenure by the club at Tottenham, that gave him a little bit of a right to be annoyed, So we don't know this, but I'm very confident that because this has been going on for a couple of weeks, Jamie, that attitude isn't necessarily going to be a problem. But of course, only time will tell.
Absolutely. Now we're at 9:30, so we're going to give it another 15 or 20 minutes. I've really enjoyed this chat, but it's gone so quick.
It's been great.
I'm glad we've all been able to have this chat. Now, deadline day doesn't come about a lot, which means that unfortunately we are going to have to go back to the old streaming schedule, which is a Thursday night at 8 p.m. So I'm sorry, but the streams will be longer. They should be. It might even be pushed down to 7 and make it till 10. They're going to be long streams on a Thursday to make up for it. But unfortunately, there will be less streams over the coming times because college next week and holiday the week after, and then mocks after that. So it's the worst time at the moment to possibly be able to do streams. But today is probably the penultimate day of such regular streams, which is a bit upsetting, really. But who better to share it with than Max, the Red 1865, who you can subscribe to now on YouTube, because I know that you do YouTube videos as well. So if you want to quickly plug that before we get on to some more Forest chat, let me know.
Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah, so I've been on Instagram since November, just writing about Forest, and just literally made the jump over to YouTube about 2 weeks ago, or just under 2 weeks ago, which I'm really enjoying. And so just trying to, hopefully if you've been watching, you've got a little bit of an insight into what I'm trying to do, and that's really what I'm just replicating on the channel. So obviously it'd be great if you could subscribe and just check it out. Yeah,
100%, and no worries. And I'll make sure that in future videos we'll put down the link in the description as well. I'll edit it tonight so I can get that in there. So all give Max some support as well. But we're going to talk football still. Now, Colin Frey wouldn't cut the numbers. Oh, don't say this to me, Toby. You always do this to me. You don't, because I'll be thinking about it now. Don't do it. I'll tell you a story. I was going to actually sit with Now, Man City, the worst organised team in the world, by the way. We'll just say this. Now, they've got all the money in the world, but they have rubbish staff that work there. I'm sorry, but it's the most disorganised thing in the whole world. There were seats 1 to 21 per row. And they said to me, I'm sitting in row F, not a problem, seat 33. So I'm saying, well, there's not a seat 33 that exists. And they all keep saying, oh, I don't know what to do. Don't know. So they tried to sit me with the BBC people. I can't sit there because security is sitting there, but they're not. They're just leaving the bags there. Then they sit me somewhere else and someone kicks me out of my space. Another place, this cameraman at halftime starts shouting at me and everything. It was the worst thing ever. I just wanted to sit with Steve Hodge, but I couldn't. So gutted is a bit of an understatement, to be honest. So Man City, you have a lot to answer for. I've never liked Man City anyway, to be honest. I like the way they play. I thought they were brilliant football, but just some little things in the family. We've never liked Man City. But that's all I'm saying. Jamie, you need to keep up with Wolverine streams. No, I don't. I don't. I've got my own thing going on here. Much respect to Wolverine, and his streams and stuff. I'm going to be bringing out a new streaming layout as well in the next couple of weeks. If you like Mark Goldbridge, you'll like the stream overlay we've got coming for you all very soon. Max has I think he's had a bit of a glitch, but he's joining back. Hopefully. Is he joining back? Let's hope so. But yeah, the Red 1865 is a good watch. I've recently started watching him, and he made another video today, I think, as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. Max is just. Oh, we're going to add him back into the stream now. He's okay. Look, he's here.
Sorry.
He's here.
Sorry.
It's all right. It's okay. And Andrew Sharp, thank you for your donation. We're worth £2 tonight, so we're going to go out on the town with this, mate. We're going to go out on the town with this. I really appreciate your donation. Don't forget, we're donating money to charity this month as well, so I'll be releasing the figures probably in the next week or so. Now, let me have a look. Colin Frey and David Jackson love the pick and mix. The pick and mix at City, and I don't want to go too much on this because I want to talk a bit more about transfers, but this is a legitimate thing. We walked into, they came a bit earlier than me because I had to run over to the academy to get my pass. It's ridiculous. And we walked in, had some food, sat down, whatever, and I was like, oh, bloody hell, there's no space for me to go and sit down. And then I looked over in the corner and there was just this little table and it had this massive sweets dispenser on it, M&M's, Skittles, everything, and just endless amounts of bags. And I thought, I'm sitting there straight away, and I just had my food and I just shoveled this bag full of all the sweets. And yeah, Colin Frey and David Jackson were loving it. So just to give you a bit of context towards those comments, it was unreal. But the Forest guy said for me to not ask about doing it at Forest because they haven't got the money. So there you go.
Yeah.
But it's an expensive thing. Skittles aren't cheap anymore. But talking
cost of living crisis is very real. Very real.
It is, and it affects football clubs as well, including Forest. So we can't be affording to get these sweets. And I know there is a picture on Twitter. I've been in a couple of them pictures with them. I found it really funny. I was on the Wembley one. That was cool. But talking of money, let's talk about someone we haven't actually spoke about much, considering the situation. Josh Bowler, he's going to sign for 4 million with add-ons, which I would imagine will rise to around 4.5 to 5 million, maybe even more. He's signing, but he's being sent to Olympiacos straight away. What do you make of that? Because as much as I do want him to get game time and continue the momentum, because he's only 23 and he does need that momentum, could be argued that he'd be a very good backup in a Forest squad this season. What do you think?
Very split on this. I'm delighted that we're getting Bowler. Sorry, I always call him Bowler. I don't know, Josh Bowler. Sorry, I'm delighted that we're getting Bowler. I think that he was. I think that he was Blackpool's talisman last season. He helped solidify their place as a Championship side in, coming up from League One. And clearly, we've wanted him for a while. Clearly, he's the type of player that's really going to fit into Steve Cooper's sort of culture of playing, and no doubt will only improve. And that's not to say I don't think that he could play in the Premier League. I do think that he certainly could, albeit probably from the bench. So I'm delighted that we're close to getting him. However, I'm just not comfortable with this transfer strategy of siphoning players off to Olympiacos. Ultimately, if I'm Josh Bowler, I'm thinking I don't want to go and play in the Greek league. Yeah, I might be playing some European football, perhaps, but I'd rather play in the Championship, an incredibly competitive league which produces Premier League players year in, year out. I'd much rather go back out on loan to Blackpool for the rest of the season. So I do, and you might disagree with me, Jamie, and Forest fans, let us know in the chat. I'm just really uncomfortable with this strategy because it just doesn't feel like the blueprint that we should be sort of having moving forward in terms of transfers. So I really hope we sign him. I really hope he doesn't go on loan to Olympiacos for all the reasons I've said, really. Yeah.
Well, and it's an interesting, you make a really good point of it. And I do want to know, because I know there's people saying Josh Bowler is relegation insurance, which is, it's an interesting comment, but I'm not quite sure I'd agree really, because I think that they were going to buy him at some point anyway, but they couldn't. I think it was Blackpool that pulled out of the deal last time, not actually Josh Bowler. As
Right.
People were saying it was Josh Bowler, but I'm pretty sure it was actually Blackpool that pulled out of the deal. So would you really say it's relegation insurance per se, or would you just say they're looking at a quality player because he's 23? He's smashing it in the Championship with Blackpool, and I didn't hear anybody saying the same about Lewis O'Brien, who also came from the Championship in his 23 and smashing it there. So what are your thoughts on relegation insurance and Bowler's part in that?
I'm going to respectfully disagree. I think, if we really wanted to sign him as insurance, it would be much cheaper for us to do that if we did get relegated. We all know that there's a little bit of a Premier League tax when you're a team in the Premier League trying to buy players from the Championship. And so I just think it would be a waste of our money to spend, let's say a couple of million more or $1 million more for Josh Bowler, only to ever play him in the Championship. I think Steve Cooper probably sees him as a player that's going to develop very quickly. I think he probably sees him as the type of player that he's used to working with or used to worked with at Liverpool, at England under-17s, and in his tenure at Swansea. And whilst I think he's probably quite a raw talent, and no doubt if we did get relegated, what a great player to have in the Championship, a proven player, a proven goal scorer, and someone that gives assists. But I've got a feeling that that raw talent might come in pretty handy, through the troughs that we'll no doubt encounter this season. And so, I've got a lot of faith in these young players, particularly when they're playing in the Steve Cooper side, and won't be surprised if he came good, off the bench particularly. But we saw the last thing I'll say on it is we saw how rapid Brennan Johnson's growth was last season. Why can't Josh Bowler do that at Forest in the Garibaldi Red?
Absolutely. And you know what? And I think I'm going to use Lewis O'Brien again because, and I just want to say, actually, I did say I'd have Lewis O'Brien. So from the start as well, go back to my June streams. You'll hear me. I said it. But Lewis O'Brien, it's that 10 million is starting to look like an absolute steal. Yeah. He was good against City, and he was brilliant against City, I thought. And I thought, he was trying to win the set pieces a lot. Obviously, our set pieces haven't been great, but he's doing something in the midfield that I really enjoyed, and quick on the counter attack, and he's got a good vision. Lots of potential. He's only 23, so I think he's not even in his prime yet. I don't think. I think he's doing really, really well. So, and I would say for Josh Bowler as well, have that same faith that we have in Lewis O'Brien, because I think that he's going to do really well. And just because you played for Blackpool or whatever, that doesn't really mean a lot, because there's players that look at Stan Collymore. He came from a team Southend. You know what I mean? It's like not a particularly brilliant team, but he came in and smashed it at Forest. I don't know the massive history about all of that. But, that's players can come from lower divisions and go and smash it. This is how it can go. Now, looking at some of the comments now, the Olympiacos loan, I'm sure that John Percy mentioned something about it. I don't know because I'm blocked, but I'm sure that there was some mention of it. Andrew Sharp, can we have memberships, Jay, so we can support you, even 99p a month? I don't know. If people do want this membership, I think Max may have he had a glitch there. Otherwise, he's winning the staring contest there for a moment. He's back now. He's okay.
No, I'm back. Sorry.
He's back now. I wonder what was going on. I was like, that's weird. How has he not blinked for that long? But if you do want memberships, guys, literally just tell me. But let me know what you want. It's whatever you guys want to do. Because I'm not massively interested, but yeah, I'd like to do that 100% if you want to do it. Nick, are you still blocked by John Percy? Yeah, I am. I've tried by proxy of a friend that I know who works with his brother to arrange a coffee with him and try and resolve the issue that we have, which is him not liking me because I said he was wrong about the Ren and Loddy medical, which he said happened the day before, and I disagreed and said it hasn't because of my sources that I had, including Jack Talbot, who broke the story. But yeah, he doesn't want to meet and have this coffee from what I can tell at the moment. So at the moment, yeah, I'm still blocked, and I'm going to stay blocked by John Percy. So keep me updated. I always like John Percy's stuff as well. So that was a bit of a punch in the gut, but it is what it is. He didn't have a lot to say to me when I saw him on Sunday. But back to football. There's obviously 5 players coming in then potentially, and it's looking like a good deadline day, would you say? But overall, I want to know, how would you rate Nottingham Forest's transfer window this summer?
That's a difficult question. I think ultimately it'll be a very easy question. It'll be a very easy question to answer at the end of the season. But I think that just in terms of sort of pure business and in terms of what we've got on paper, I think it's difficult to put us outside the top 5 in Europe. I mean, we have made I just think some fantastic business, and it doesn't feel willy-nilly. It doesn't feel sort of shooting from the hip, albeit there might be a couple of signings maybe today that we've sort of looked at as good deals and thought, let's get them in and see what happens. For the first time in a long time, Forest have a very clear and calm transfer strategy. We've all heard about the 2 lists that were compiled before the playoffs around, if we get promoted, the players we might get in. If we don't get promoted, the players will get in the Championship. And for me, that's such a refreshing thing as a Forest fan, having watched the club panic buy. I remember a summer, I think when we had Philippe Montagnier and we brought 15 signings in, all of them were absolutely useless. And I just don't think that's going to happen. Of course, some of those players aren't going to hit the heights of others that we brought in, but I think it's very difficult to say with just the calibre of player we brought in that Forest have had a bad window by any stretch of the imagination. And considering the amount of money we've spent and the ambition we're showing, I'd say it's top 5 in Europe.
And you're averaging at £9 million a player roughly, mate. I think just a little bit above now. Not bad, really, for a Premier League side. I mean, you're not going spending willy-nilly ridiculous amounts on players. So it's good to see. And also the age demographic of players is around like 24 to 25. So I'm impressed because, I mean, this is a Football Manager strategy I use, by the way. I just want to put that out there. But I will only really sign players that are like 23 or 24. And although it is only Football Manager, there's a lot of things you can apply to real life as well. You're signing a young demographic. They're not 18 and got no experience in the game. They're 23, 24, and they've got 6 or so years experience. You look at Near Carty, I think he's like 25, 26. And he has got a massive abundance of experience in top league, top level German league football as a captain, and just little things like that. He's brought in a lot of players with experience and leadership skills, which is so important. So I think we haven't seen the best of Forest yet, and we likely won't for a little bit. But I think we're going to see glimpses of it, in the coming weeks, as the team properly gets to know each other. Obviously, a couple of the newer players gelling in again. But I think we're going to properly see a more motivated team coming into Bournemouth. They want to win after that shocking game against, shocking result, should I say, against City, and then obviously Bournemouth, they want to go and get a win. That's all they want to do, because obviously they did draw against Wolves, but as someone mentioned earlier, they didn't look particularly like they wanted to score. So both teams, they want to prove something. Forest, perhaps, maybe less to prove. Obviously, they got more points and whatever, but they still need to get this win on Saturday. So the kind of final question I'll ask you of the stream before we jump off, and I just want to thank everybody for joining as well. But Max, where do you see us at Christmas in terms of league position? I'm going to ask you a really hard question with that. I'm sorry.
Christmas, okay. I think I see Forest.
I'm not on about around a table drinking wine or anything. I'm on about league.
Yeah. No, I think at Christmas we're going to be 15th.
Okay. Interesting. How many points do you think we'll be on?
How many games will we have played, Jamie, by Christmas?
Oh, I'm gonna have to go counting now.
All right, have a look. Well, I'll tell you why I say that, because I think the main reason I'm saying this is because like I said, I'm hopelessly optimistic. But I do, despite the result yesterday against City, really feel that the signs have been incredibly positive at West Ham, at Everton, despite the late equaliser, and particularly despite the loss against Spurs. And I think that's a real sign of things to come. And a couple more, games into it, with hopefully a win behind us against Bournemouth, I think that's really going to push us on. And I just think by Christmas we will still be ahead of Bournemouth in particular, of Everton in particular, of Leicester. I'm almost certain. I just think they're in a really bad place, and then potentially Villa. And so if there are 20 teams in the league, then I think 15th, 14th, 15th, 16th sounds to me about right, if my sort of predictions about the trajectory that Forest are going in are anywhere near accurate. And I think we've really got to try as a fan base to put yesterday's result out of our mind, as difficult as that is, because we've become so used to not losing 6-0. But I just think those teams aren't going to be accumulating as many points as us. That's what I'd say.
And there's 12. I think it was 12 games I counted until Christmas. I think it was 26th when we played Manchester United. Obviously, you've got to take into account the international break. And if I'm not mistaken, there should be one coming up soon, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's the 16th of September. So just after that, because I know Wales are playing on the 22nd, and then we're back on the 3rd of October. So a little international break there for a couple of weeks. But it's been great talking to you. I think that, 15th is fair. That's where I see us finishing at the end of the season. I've said it from day one. So let's hope, things do go well, and let's hope it goes even better than we expected. But Max, it's been a pleasure to have you. Obviously, the first time you've come on the show. Where has time gone, I'm really, really looking forward to the next one that we can do. It's been a pleasure to bring you all another stream. We've got some very, very good things coming up soon, in particular interviews. There might be another one on the horizon with a certain Forest legend that you all love and always talk about. But we're gonna leave that there. Obviously, the Michael Dawson one's coming as well in a few weeks. But for now, we're going to stick to telling him that he's just a young lad from Hull. But he doesn't like that. But no, but seriously though, lots of interviews coming up. Let me know how you feel about the memberships idea that Andrew put out earlier. And also let me know any feedback you've got about the streams, and also make sure that you subscribe to Max at the Red 1865, and also follow him on Instagram as well. He's doing good work, and I will stay tuned with that Max as well. So thank you for joining.
Cheers, Jay. It's been absolutely brilliant. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers, everyone. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. And most importantly, have a great hour and 15 minutes left of deadline day. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.